There was one other thing I wanted to discuss before we get to the questions today. What the heck was it? I was talking with Scott about a topic for Firewall this week, and I was actually thinking about doing. He mentioned that some of these videos we'd done had any kind of like a name or celebrity. I was thinking about talking a little bit about celebrity, because it's a strange thing actually. But I decided not to do that. I'm going to talk about what our topic for the night is tonight. And we might as well just jump right in. So a lot of this, I have actually not written the Firewall yet. I will write it tomorrow morning. We'll shoot it tomorrow and get it up there tomorrow afternoon. But I'm thinking about calling it. Scott always comes up with a, searchable headline, but I always like something a little more poetic and evocative. And I was actually thinking about calling it "The Smell of Fear: A Whiff of Justice." I saw John Brennan being asked about the investigation into the Mueller report. And Brennan looked scared to me. And Brennan never struck me as a guy who looked like he'd feel anything. He looked nervous. And the first, I don't know if you've seen the take of him answering questions. Well, all of this was approved by the FISA court, and all of these steps were taken, and so on. And what's interesting about that is the immediate connection I made was he sounded exactly, his tone, exactly like Hillary Clinton when she came out and said, all of the messages that I sent were approved by the State Department, and there was at no time any just this kind of defense, this kind of everything is done okay, and and you could tell that even they didn't believe it. The one person, if I could pick the next president of the United States, if I could just select him or her, it would be Trey Gowdy without batting an eyelid. I would just instantly just make that happen. I have such respect for him. And I saw Gowdy talking about. I don't usually watch Fox. I saw a little bit of some snippets. I was looking at it the other day, and Gowdy was on just a couple days ago, and the host played Brennan saying it was all approved by the FISA courts, and the Fox host said, "Well, Trey, what do you think about this? Is this a defense?" And the thing I love about Trey Gowdy for president, Jason Chaffetz for vice president. I swear to God, I'd give blood to finance that campaign. But he said that, well, surely Brennan knows that the judges only approve these things. Excuse me one second. Hi. We're good, thanks. We're okay. Thank you. Have a good night. Bye. He said that the court has no investigative power. The court has to do what the court has to make its decision based on the evidence that's presented to it. And if the FBI comes to you and says, here's the evidence, the court has no way of knowing that the evidence was falsified in the first place. So it was just an incredible thing. A lot of people saying Gowdy was all hat and no cattle. I don't know. I can remember clearly pointing out to my wife and watching Trey Gowdy being the only, Gowdy and Chaffetz, but mostly Gowdy, being the only person that had a bulldog grip on James Comey, on Hillary Clinton, on the other FBI clowns that they sent out to take the fall on their swords for him. I just thought he was pretty much the two or three of them alone, basically. I just thought he was. It's like there was one or two guys holding the thing. Dave Wellman says that nothing ever came of it, but that's not his fault. I mean, he was just that. You can blame that on the the so-called Republicans. In any event, I just adore the guy. I just always felt like I would watch him, and when Natasha first came to America, I would say, this is what the country's about. This is what it's about. It's about there's a one guy here who's not going to drop the Benghazi thing, and he's not going to drop the email thing, and I don't know what's going to happen, but he's doing it. So that being the firewall I'm going to work on and finish tomorrow, I'd like to talk about that tonight. But I have to tell you, the last week or so was the first time since maybe 2010 when I actually felt like there might be actual justice and law returning to America. It's the first time I felt like there may actually be consequences for these people. It didn't take me 9 years to come to that point. That happened very slowly. Just watching it again and again and again, and culminating in Comey's indictment of Hillary Clinton, only to say that he wouldn't recommend prosecution. And I had really given up hope. And when I saw the first 2 years of Donald Trump's term and Jeff Sessions, and I thought, all right, now we're going to get serious. Hillary made some line in one of those debates, something about Donald Trump should scare you as president or something, and he said should scare you because you'd be in jail. And I don't remember. I remember thinking, okay, here come the indictments, and nothing happened. And Sessions recused himself and all the rest of this stuff. Now, Bill Barr. Bill Barr is not an impressive guy to look at. He reminds me a bit of what's the matter with my head today? Okay, the Breitbart guy, Steve. It'll show up in 3 seconds. 2, 1. Bannon. I beat the response. I beat the response. All right, Steve Bannon. Reminds me a little bit of Steve Bannon. Now come 9 of them. Thanks, guys. But Barr, honest to goodness, looks like he's serious about this. And the great thing about this is I would, if it were me, I would be willing to, I'd be willing to cut deals. I'd cut a lot of deals because I'd want to take it as high as it could go. And as high as it could go, most people think is Hillary Clinton. But nobody talks about the fact that of the 30 or 40 or 60,000 emails that Hillary Clinton had on her private server, significant number of those were to Barack Obama. I mean, the president must have known that he was replying to emails from a Secretary of State who was responding on a non-secure server. So I'd like to see Comey and Brennan in jail very much. But I'd give up Comey to get Hillary. I don't think I'd give up Hillary to get Obama. Maybe I would. It actually is starting to, for the first time ever since I watched Barack Obama's presidency begin to erode the rule of law. Really, I remember the beginning of it. I remember it was, how long was Obama in office when his first attorney general said that he wasn't going to go after this Black Panther intimidation because he's not going to go after his own people. And I remember thinking, Eric Holder, we're all your people. This whole country is your people. But that was right out of the gate, right out of the 2008 election. Oh, so the Justice Department's not going to prosecute these people because of because politics. So I don't know. It just for the first, and I'm not counting on it. I mean, that's how discouraged I am, to be honest with you. But for the first time, I begin to feel like it's a real possibility. We always, when we talk about things like the deep state and all the rest of this stuff, which apparently really does exist. I mean, there's your superstars of the deep state, Brennan and Comey. And one thing that I find a little bit encouraging is that when you see this kind of treasonous malfeasance and corruption going on, and when they get away with it, you're tempted to think that they're getting away with it because they're all criminal masterminds and they'll never be caught. But they're not. They're not criminal masterminds. All it needed was daylight. It just needed an actual investigation. Now, I've been utterly convinced that the whole thing about Barr, what Barr said about the redacted Mueller report, Barr can't be trusted and Barr should be in jail and blah blah blah. All of this is designed to destroy Bill Barr's credibility, not because of what he said about the Mueller report. He wouldn't have said it if it wasn't true. He wouldn't have said no, there's no collusion there if there was collusion. He's not an idiot. So the reason they're attacking Bill Barr so much is because they know that they got to get some hits in on Bill Barr now, because when Bill Barr comes out with his results of the actual shenanigans that went on, then by that point he's going to have to be destroyed. But I don't think Bill Barr is going to be that easily destroyed. As somebody said a few moments ago in the comment section, Bill is a guy who has no F's to give. It was horrifying watching Brett Kavanaugh, because Kavanaugh did have some F's to give. It was just watching him be assassinated in front of the nation was just hard. As somebody who's been through a shade of that, it was just brutal to watch. Needless to say, and this is the point I'm starting to come to, is why I'm feeling a little bit more confident about things. Needless to say, they're going to do everything they can, but that actually doesn't really matter. What matters is the law. If there was anything in there on Trump, they would have him, but there's not. And there is stuff on. There's no question about it. It's not like, hey, he said, she said kind of thing. I mean, all the evidence is there. What you end up with is kind of like, my God, it may actually come down to what it's supposed to be. Supposed to be about the law and evidence. It's not I'm not on a witch hunt for Democrats. I'm on a witch hunt for criminals and liars. And but I repeat myself. No, but seriously, I mean, there's plenty of Republican, so-called Republicans, or so-called conservatives anyway, who I thought should have been behind bars and or at the very least evicted from the Congress. But I don't know. I'm actually starting to feel like it actually may happen. It was one guy came out. It was about a week or two ago. He was a State Department. I don't think he was an aide. He was like an assistant something or other, mid-level guy. And he basically just came out and said, "Oh, yes, of course we knew we were communicating with Hillary Clinton on an insecure server. Of course we knew." And so that's a serious violation of federal law. And we watched Hillary Clinton walk away from that. But now, like I was saying a minute ago, now I would say to this guy, you testify on our behalf, and we will we'll give you you get the conviction, and then you will that'll be it. And trade him for Hillary. Trade low level guys. I'd rather. I'm now. This is just sheer conjecture, but as much as I'd like to wipe the smile off of that, am I just having a problem with memory today? Struck. As much as I'd like to see him go to jail, I'd love to let him walk free in exchange for Comey or Brennan. But like I said, Brennan looked scared to me. He really did. He looked scared, and that knee-jerk, reflexive. Well, everything was completely approved by the courts. It's just exactly what Hillary was saying. So I don't know. The whole thing. I remember before the election, I remember Victor Davis Hanson writing somewhere around 2015 or something, saying that the Democrats were behaving as if they were never going to lose another election. And it makes it seem even more of a miracle. You know, that first Tuesday in November of 2016 could go right onto the history books as one of the most important dates in history. And some people are pointing out something else I was going to talk about in a minute, because I was thinking about this on the way over. It's like, if you can use these people, they're all about ego and self-interest. And if you can use them to flip them and get them to testify upriver, that'd be great. Because I remember having like this clear image of like this really nasty infected wound, really nasty, lose the limb nasty. And I remember thinking, it's not just enough to clean this up, sew it up, and apply, iodine to the surface. This arm is going to rot from the inside. It's going to turn gangrenous. It's going to fall off and kill the country. And I remember thinking, is it even possible today? Is it even possible that that we could still see something to the effect of a team of dedicated surgeons going in to bone and muscle and just cleaning the whole thing out, just cleaning it out, not just putting a Band-Aid on it, not just putting an antiseptic on it, but going in there, getting all of that dead tissue and infection out of there, heavy program of antibiotics for months afterwards, and see it, actually happen. I don't know. I just think it would be it would be like the ending of Return of the King. And so I'm hoping, my number one hope now is that the in terms of likelihood of convictions, is that everybody's going to start looking out for their own butts. And there's clearly enough evidence to put James Comey and Brennan in prison. Would I be satisfied with that? No, I wouldn't call myself satisfied, but it'd be a hell of a start. What a thought. So anyway, that's our topic for tonight, for our questions. And we'll do a couple from Facebook, then we'll march over to BillWhittle.com, do a couple more. But as I said, Brennan, who I did a picture search for him when we talked about him on one of our shows, either Right Angle or Bill Whittle now, a couple of months ago. I did a picture search for the guy, and he looks like, every picture of him looks like Uncle Fester. And there's none of him smiling. But because he just has this kind of thing you'd want in a CIA director, is this kind of absolutely kind of impassive kind of tough guy kind of look, but he looked scared. So we'll see.